What's going on, everyone? Welcome back along to the subscriber series Team of the Week episode for round number 4. We've got the 15 best players from round 4 as well as the stat leaders so far from the competition. 4 rounds are complete now, and we're only another one away from getting into the real nitty-gritty games where the subscriber sides finally start to clash. We will see some massive matchups in the coming weeks as well, so be sure to stay tuned for those ones coming up very soon as well. So quickly, before we get into the big things about today's episode, the leaders of the stats and the big players of round 4, let's have a look at the 4 results from the round from the subscriber sites as well to recap your memory from maybe those early matches that we've been a week or two ago. We started off with the Guardians of the Crib going up against the Wasps, and this was a bit of a beating with a 31-7 scoreline going away of the Guardians. Second up was a bit closer. It was the All Flakes up against the Scarlets. 17-7 was the final score in that one. It got even closer, would you believe it? In the third match of the round, the Flakers were up against Clermont, who hadn't really threatened too much in the series so far, but that one went down to the absolute wire. 24-21. Clermont almost doing the unthinkable and upsetting a subscriber side. The last game of the round was, of course, Munster hosting the Celtic Dragons, who seemed to come in the fourth match, but alas, it was a late comeback from Munster that seen them get their 14 points, but it was the Celtic Dragons who led the way throughout, going up 28 points to 14 to take out Munster. Looking forward to round 5, we have another 4 games. The Exeter Chiefs up against the Guardians, the Flakers will be taking on the Wasps, the All Flakes will be taking on the Lions, and the Celtic Dragons will round things out against the almost beaters in Clermont. That'll be round 5. Now let's get into business. Let's kick things off with a look at the leaders of the statistical analysis side of the game. As we do, we look at points, we look at tackles, and we look at the leading line breakers, which we are going to do first. And to be completely honest with you guys, after 4 rounds, not much has really changed from we seen in round number 3. So the leaders in this one, there's one breakaway star, and it's a bit of an ironic pun to use that, but for line breaks, it is Sammer Coop who leads the way from the All Flakes with 7 line breaks so far in the 4 matches for the All Flakes. Now, he hasn't even played all of them, but he's averaging, you'd say, almost a good 2 per game at least if he did play them all. So he's leading the way by quite a margin as well. It's going to take some time to catch up when Joshua Barrett from the Flakers sits in second with 5 line breaks himself. After that, it's a logjam of players on 4. Steve Tekogs from the Dragons. We've got Adam Fleetwood from the All Flakes. We've got Arthur Brunso, the only forward in this conversation from the Celtic Dragons at 4, alongside Jim Gino, who makes the list one longer than it's supposed to be from the Flakers, also with 4. So leading the way quite comprehensively there is Sammer Coop. Now, points are a big thing in this game. We normally have try scorers, point scorers, and the tackle makers for the forwards. Try scorers, to be completely fair, Nanook Isi is leading the way. I think he's on 4. Far and away, the next best has got 2. So everyone's sitting on 2. Still, there's not enough differences between the players to really make a top 5 or so list of try scorers so far. So as we go on, hopefully they will start to expand a bit out and we can move line breaks on to try scorers, or even keep both. We'll see how things go. But points is interesting because the man we talked to, Nanook Isi, is in the mix for this list, which is great for a forward to be the only one there for scoring tries alone. The rest of them are all goal kickers. And it is Don Butler from the Guardians of the Crib. The first time we mentioned a player from the Guardians of the Crib entering at the top with 33 points from his matches so far. He's got a decent wee lead, but it will take nothing to wipe out the 8 points down to Sammer Coop, the saviour of the All Flakes. Owen Richards, another goal kicker, sits in there at 3rd with 22 points to his name, and here he is, Nanook Isi, with 24 tries. You can work it out for yourself. It's not that hard. He sits there doing well. If we can keep him scoring tries, he'll put pressure on those leaders. And interestingly enough, in 5th place is another player from the Guardians, proving the goal kicking is key to their success, Simone Dominguez, coming in at the bottom spot for the top 5 with 19 points. So he's doing pretty well. A lot of pressure though, a lot of players from 15 to 18 below him though. You see try scorers, odd kick here or there as well. It is a pretty messy middle with a lot of sides, or a lot of players I should say, from the sides sitting in that middle area of the field. But Don Butler leading the way easily, but I don't think he's maybe once only mentioned himself in the team of the week so far. So leading the points, but he's still not probably played his best game yet. Now we move on to the one for the forwards. This is the most successful tackles so far for each subscriber side, and I always call this one the one for the forwards because in Season 1 it was the forwards who dominated this area of the game, and surprisingly we've got a top 5 here for you guys yet again, and we've only got 2 forwards in this list, and leading the way is a man that has predominantly played fullback and scrum half from the Celtic Dragons, Richard Mockwa. 19 tackles as well. That's successful tackles. He is doing a very, very good job of holding those fringes up. Very, very nicely done, I guess. As a fullback, you've got to be very good defensively, but he's got those channels with those big forwards slamming their way straight through. Sitting in second, we have our first forward in the list, and that is from the Corn Flakers with 18 successful tackles. He's a big man in the big position of the second row. It is John Joseph. He's been impressive, and he's really done a great job of commanding his pack around as well. Leading the way defensively, 18 tackles, only one behind Richard Mockwa, who has to do a lot of work to keep that position there. Joseph has really made the second row his own, and he's going to play most of the games this season, so I fully expect he's going to be racing right to the top of that leaderboard. But right behind him, though, is the other forward, Luke de Normanville from the Guardians of the Crib. Not too many leaders from that side, but they're performing exceptionally well, so spreading the load around very, very nicely. He's got 16 successful tackles, has Luke, and he sits in third position. Now we go to a bit of a logjam here between 2 essentially scrum halves. Ironically, 3 scrum half players in this top 5, but it is Jim Adigino from the Flakers and Ken Lynch from the Guardians who sit on 15 tackles successful, and that is really interesting. See how that leaderboard has lined up with 3 players generally wearing the number 9 jumper in there for most tackles. So that is it, a little bit of an insight to the statistical leaders after 4 rounds of the competition. Now let's get to the main event. It's the team of the week. Let's check them out. Okay, this is it, your top 15 players from round 4. Of course, all your suggestions are much taken into account for these games as well, so if you do like a player after a match, you thought he's had an exceptional outing, let me know in the comments after the games, and they are very much taken into account as we make the top 15, the starting 15, the best 15 from each and every round of the subscriber series. Let's start things off in the front row like we always do, and 3 men who are lining up. The props almost swapping places a bit with the 2 we have here. So we'll start off here with the loose head and the tight head. Luke de Normanville, we're going to put on the loose head side from the Guardians of the Crib, and partnering him in the front row will be Nicholas Friedlander. Consistent, and I think the second week in a row now he's starting on that tight head side of the front row. From the All Flakes as well, Friedlander has had a fantastic season so far and has been a massive catalyst to how well this All Flakes team has gone. De Normanville, part of the front row squad. This side has been humming perfectly. Like we talked about the statistics earlier, they've got a team that is not setting the world alight individually, but as a squad are doing a great job. In between those 2 will be a man from the Celtic Dragons. We've got one from each side yet again in the front row, and it is Arthur Dane from the Dragons. This guy played, I think, the game of his career almost. If he matches that again, he will be starting in the team of the week yet again. He's almost a player of the round as well because he was in everything. Right turnovers, line breaks, big defensive tackles. He was everywhere. Made mistakes as well, but his presence and the way he was involved in the game I thought was just outstanding from the hooker. For the front row, man that stood out and was unlucky to miss out was David O'Callaghan, another one from the Celtic Dragons who had another good match as well. But those 3 were standouts from the front row. Into the second row, and we've got a 4 and 5 coming from the Guardians and from the All Flakes. Josh Howard from the Guardians lines up at 4, and Benjamin Grayson, another solid match there from the All Flakes second rower, doing very well. We talked about the combinations these teams are making. Gilbert Sanchez has been brilliant for the Flakers so far this year, and he goes there as a almost made it but not quite alongside Oscar Connolly, but it will be Howard and Grayson that start in the second row for round 4. Into the back row, and this is really where we have the best players. I think this is the most competitive area, and it's where we consistently get standout performances as well. So this is tough to pick, and you could easily argue that others deserve to take these places. But for round 4, we are going with the combination from the Flakers, Francois Valentine at 6. Dean Mumberg lines up at 7 from the All Flakes, and at number 8, this was tough to pick, but I've gone with Michael Shepherd from the Guardians of the Crib. Once again, the man we've already talked about in today's little episode. Now, Nugisi missing out by a whisker, but he is consistently alongside the likes of Kamana, alongside the likes of De Rossi, and we've also got Frederick Loeb, who's been outstanding for the Celtic Dragons, also deserving of mentions being in there. But those three are the starters: Valentine, Mumberg, and Shepherd is your back row. Starting at scrum half, he's a man who's already been in statistical analysis. That is Jim Gino from the Flakers, lining up at number 9. And the other man, really, these two are competing for the best of the 9s. Richard Mockler from the Celtic Dragons deserving a mention, but it's going to be Gino that takes the number 9 jumper at 10. Now, this may surprise some people because he had a terrible game at fullback. We put him in the centres, terrible in the centres. We moved him around, couldn't find a spot, started him at 10. He's your stunning man and the number 10 jumper for the team of the week. It is Bob Jeffrey from the All Flakes. I think he's had a terrible season so far, but definitely was a standout player in round number 4. Special credit again for more players, this time Don Butler, the leading point scorer. Didn't quite make the team of the week, but deserves mention for another good performance. I think consistently he has been in or about the team of the week around it, more than any other player in the competition. Now, the centre pairing outside of Bob Jeffrey is going to be the other Valentine. So we've already got Francois Valentine in the back row. Now we've got Pierre Valentine lining up at inside centre. Again, Tom Guest from the Guardians. The Butler and Guest combination has been working a charm, but they were both just on the outer on this occasion. Outside centre, this one was really, really tough. JP Mukoko was one name I was tossing up, but eventually I decided to go with Andre Miller from the Flakers. Normally on the wing, we put him into the centre to see how he would go, and really was a standout as he made that position really his own and had a strong performance for the Flakers in the outside centre jersey. The wingers. Now, this is interesting because we haven't had a season where wingers have been real standouts, but I thought this week we definitely did on one side. Joshua Barrett had an outstanding match for the Flakers. Also, for the first time, we've got others that could have been in the team of the week for these positions. So not often we get this for the wingers. But on the right side, we're going to have James Garner from the Guardians of the Crib. Very, very quiet normally, but this week in round 4, he had a storming matchup as well. And you've got to give him credit, just consistently persevering, learning to play with the teammates that he's got, and you've got to say these outside backs are really starting to come into their game. Special mention, of course, like I've talked about, Christian Catley and Ike Wrigley, both from the All Flakes, had good games for their side, but just not quite the standouts that we've seen from the men from the Flakers and the Guardians lining up on the two wings. Now, fullback, I think you'd probably say this man has been my best of the round. He's from the Celtic Dragons, and there's not often you can say for a fullback that they join the line defensively and make an effort. Not often for a fullback you can say they join the line and score a try. This man was doing it all. He got himself a try, he was defensively sound, and he played a very, very good matchup. I should probably say his name first before I said all that, but I'm going to give it to Bogdan Ola from the Dragons. Outstanding performance from Ola. Never before have I seen a fullback so involved in the game, so forward, so forceful into his playing options. He really made his match from the Dragons a winner. And you've got to say, when you look at that game, it ended up fairly close. I mean, 28-14 isn't a thrashing, isn't a tight one, but he had a very, very good match overall, and he gets my player of the match from the fullback, which is an odd one. I don't often give players of the round to fullbacks. They don't often see much performance, and they're generally hard to pick unless they get hammered defensively from kicks or from line breaks. So for once, we can actually say this man had a big impact throughout the game, attackingly and defensively as well. So overall, a very, very good looking side. I think you might all well agree. Let me know if you disagree with it and who you thought should deserve to be there if you think someone else had a better round of number 4. And as always though, the team on screen now for you all to enjoy. Congratulations to you if you've made it again into the team of the week. And as always, let me know your thoughts each game as we go one by one, as we get through to the big clashes coming up in round number 6. But for today, that is your team of the week for round number 4. Until next time, thanks for watching. We will be back very soon with the opening game of round 5. The Guardians are in action against the Exeter Chiefs to kick the round off. And then, of course, we have the Flakers and Wasps. We have All Flakes, Lions, and Dragons versus Claremont. That should be a good one, I do think. So I hope to see you all there for those. Until then, thanks for tuning in and watching. Let me know your thoughts as always, and until then, take care.